Good evening and welcome to the December 14th, 2023 meeting of the Abington Township Board of Commissioners. This is our final meeting for the year 2023 and the final meeting in this two-year term. And so may I have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky.
Here.
Rothman.
Here.
DiPlacido.
Here.
Vaughn.
Here.
Brown.
Here.
Weingrab.
Here.
Henry.
Here.
Sapone. Carswell. Spiegelman. Bowl.
Here.
Schreiber.
Here.
Bowman.
Here.
Vice President Vahey. President Hecker.
Here. Please note that Commissioners Vahey and Spiegelman are excused this evening, and Commissioner Carswell will be joining us online shortly. May we all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I have one announcement this evening. The Board of Commissioners held an executive session on December 12th for the purposes of discussing personnel matters. And now I'm going to get up. We have two commendations that we're going to be issuing this evening, so I'm going to come up to the podium. So our first commendation this evening is in honor and recognition of Barbara Wertheimer. At the October 12th board meeting, Mrs. Wertheimer informed us that she would be stepping down from her post on the zoning hearing board, a post that she has held for 35 years. Think about that. 35 years of dedicated, unselfish service to the township. Mrs. Wertheimer, would you come up and join me here? I'm going to read this out loud, and then I'm going to ask you to make a few comments. But I just want to say, this kind of dedication to one's community is rare, and we are a better community for your service, and we wish you well in this next chapter. So the commendation reads, in acknowledgement of her 35 years of dedication and service as a member of the Abington Township Planning Commission, a member and chair of the Zoning Hearing Board, and as a formal expression of gratitude and thanks, the Abington Township Board of Commissioners awards this certificate of commendation to Barbara Wertheimer. Thank you, Barbara.
Thank you. Thank you all. It's been, 35 years. I can't believe it. My younger daughter was 2 months old when I started this. And when you think about those of you who have an infant at home and how some 35 years later you would still be doing the same thing that you're doing then, it's been a journey. And we've worked hard along the way to try to make Abington the best possible township it could be. Have we had a few bumps in the road? Absolutely. But we still strive to do the best. We strive to make our community a place where you want to live, where people want to move to, that's safe, and that's a good place to raise your children. I have had the pleasure to preside over such wonderful hearings as the prolonged hearing we had concerning the stadium at the high school, the application over Hillside Cemetery and Dennis. If we heard one more night of testimony about Floaties Pond, was it Floaties, right? And things that I learned about this township that were just incredible, and how people felt so strongly about what their neighborhood was going to be and what they wanted it to still be. And with that in mind, what I would ask is that the Board of Commissioners really understand our township from a zoning perspective and make sure that we have the ability and when I say we, I'm talking about the zoning hearing board, to implement what has to be done to enforce what's in the ordinance, and that be supported by the Board of Commissioners. But I thank you. It's been a wonderful 35 years. It's been interesting. I will tell you, I've not kept all the paperwork for 35 years. I do, however, it might, but I do have 35 years worth of notes. So I thank you, Tom, thank you, the rest of the board members, some of whom I don't know, many of whom I do know, and thank you.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
President Hecker, can I say something?
Certainly, Commissioner Zabon.
I've known Barbara for 25 years. Her dedication and commitment to this township's unbelievable. We work together on a lot of different things, and this young lady, I'm going to really miss her, and I'm saddened that she is stepping down, which I guess, you got to just move on. But she is, I can't begin to tell you, I've been around here a long time, and she is the best. We're really losing a lot of talent there.
For sure.
So, Barb, you're the best. I'll keep in touch.
Thank you, Joseph. Thank you for calling me young.
Yeah.
Too funny. Thank you. Our second commendation tonight is for Commissioner Julia Vaughn. If you could come down and join me. We wanted to take a moment to mark and honor Julia's service on the board. Julia stepped up at a very difficult time, replacing a longstanding commissioner, and it's not like you don't have a few other things going on in your life. So recognizing what it takes to heed the call, we appreciate the hours that you've put into this over the years, your dedication to your residents, your advocacy on their behalf. I think you've taught us a number of things to make us be more mindful and inclusive in our thinking, and we're grateful for your service. And so I just want to read this, and then I'll give you a chance to speak. It says, in acknowledgement and celebration of her historic status as the first Black woman to serve as an Abington Township Commissioner, and in gratitude for her dedication to the people and neighborhoods of Ward 5 and to all of Abington Township, the Abington Township Board of Commissioners awards this certificate of commendation to Commissioner Julia Vaughn.
What y'all don't know is that I am a sap. Oh, God. I really stepped into this position really as just because most of the people in my ward are related to me. So it really was just, it was an act to support my family and stand up for my family members. And because I love Abington and I don't want to be anywhere else, and I didn't want to see us not be represented. So I've learned a lot. I've probably spoke out of turn many times, but I really enjoyed this last 4 years. Not 35, but my 4 years was a lot, and now I have opened a business, and I am moving on to other things. So thank you.
All right. Good? Thank you. We will now take public comment on matters that are on the agenda this evening. Is there anyone in the room who wishes to speak on what is on the agenda this evening? Come forward. Please state your name.
Okay. My name is Adele, Kubel, Kubel, and I live on Ampler Road. Okay, you're voting on the budget, but there was never discussion here about the budget. I saw Mrs. Lehman, who is extraordinarily knowledgeable and insightful. Her questions would benefit the entire community. There was no answers given that made any sense. Mr. Manfredi tends to follow the same routine. He's vague, he's short, the answers are misleading, and then he moves on to complimenting the staff and himself. Not one commissioner asked for follow-up when questions are not really answered to the best of anyone's ability to answer them. And I believe today you will simply vote 100% in favor of the budget. I have many questions, and I did look at the budget, but I don't have the tenacity of Mrs. Lehman. I could not believe the tiny, tiny font, the amount of adjustments I had to make. There was a video, there was numerous videos that drone on and on, and then all you want to do is really see the budget page by page. One click would be enough, and then you scroll down, you find what you want. The numerous issues were unbelievable. I did not find what I wanted when I went to look, and I was disappointed that there was no discussion, and Mrs. Lehman's questions went not answered, and there was no follow-up by any of you. Also, I've been in public comment, that's on the agenda. There's no value in public comment if answers are never or denied and purposely false and misleading. I went through a list of questions that I had. Some of them were brand new. You continually tell me I've had answers, but I tell you that I've researched the questions because I didn't get answers. I've gone to the district courts. The judges have told me different things. I even went to a hearing this week and found out that Raymore and Flanagan just got another continuance. The township has asked for over 6 months of continuances. It's not Raymore and Flanagan asking, it's the township. I was told that it was because Raymore and Flanagan's been doing and improving what they do over there.
Ms. Lehman, Ms.
Does it
Cabell, this is
improve?
not on the agenda this evening, so your comments...
This is public comment. I did not get answers.
No, we're not going to do that.
Why?
Because right now, we're talking about the specific items on which we are voting this evening. You were talking about the budget. That is legitimate. You are now drifting
No,
into
it's
an area...
everything I say is legitimate.
You're now drifting into an area that is reserved for comment later on in the meeting. So I'm going to ask you to
All right,
conclude
when I
your
get to
comments.
the public comment, and I only get my 3 minutes once a month, I should be able to get answers. I called and spoke to Mrs. McAnally. She didn't call me back. I spoke to Mrs. Ham. She doesn't remember things she said and were in the newspaper.
Okay,
only
Ms.
a year
Cabell,
ago.
please wrap up your comments. Your
All
time
right.
has expired.
The agenda budget is not clear. I could not find anything with what's going on with maintenance because we don't have the maintenance we should. And we don't have a receptionist. We don't have people who
All right.
answer the phone.
Ms. Cabell, your time has expired.
And I
Thank you.
can't find the information.
Is there anyone else in the room that wishes to speak? And if not, we will turn to Zoom.
Laura Lehman, you're unmuted.
This is Laura Lehman in Meadowbrook, and again, Mr. Hecker, the sound is out in the room. I have emailed enough people that should be corrected. I know all of you spend more time looking at your phones than you do listening to the public comment, so I'm sure somebody has looked at their phone and seen that the sound needs to be fixed. Once again, we have a very, very, very improper, and I would call it corrupt budget process. Okay, 3 minutes is not enough time to speak on the budget. You haven't stated that you would allow more time because a 700 to 800 or more page budget is...
Stop the clock for a second, please. Ms. Lehman, I just need to correct you. This budget has been available since the middle of October. Ms. Cabell, do not speak out of turn. This budget has been available for 2 months, and I sit here tonight with a compilation, is a 15-page document of countless questions that you have brought forward that have been answered to the best of their ability. So to say that there has not been enough time to speak on this budget, it's been enough time for you to compile 15 pages worth of questions and answers. Ms. Cabell, you are out of order. Ms. Cabell, I'm going to tell you, if you keep on interrupting the meeting, you will be removed from the room. You are out of order. Ms. Cabell, I'm going to ask you one more time to refrain from commenting out of order, and if you cannot do that, you will be removed from the room. Ms. Lehman, please continue your comments.
So you improperly interrupted me, Mr. Hecker. It's not your job to counter the things that I say while I'm making public comment.
When you call something corrupt, I'm going to counter that.
It is not your job to decide whether the things that I say are right or wrong. It's your job to listen to your constituents, and we have the freedom to speak our mind on all of these issues, and you are not to interrupt. That's a violation of Sunshine Law. 3 minutes on this budget is a violation of Sunshine Law. And no, you did not. You actually added new information after our last opportunity to speak. And so you have not allowed the proper time to speak. And despite all of the wild claims online and from Mr. Manfredi that questions would be answered, outrageously, those questions that you referred to were not largely answered. The greatest part of them were not answered. And I showed Mr. Manfredi today that the literal answer to most of them took 8 seconds in one case, 12 seconds in another case. That's all. Those questions literally took 8 and 12 seconds to answer. And most of them were inadequately answered, not answered, and sometimes they said it's already been answered when it hadn't been. They hadn't even read the whole question properly. So this is not okay. And for you to counter what the citizens are saying and undo it with the power that you have from the chair is completely irresponsible, improper, and it is part of the corruption that is going on in Abington Township. And it's not just one place that this corruption happens. Okay. So when you have so many things that are wrong, that is a picture of public corruption. And so, Mr. Hecker, you should be talking to me and seeing what things can be fixed, because there are a lot of them, and people are being kept in danger because of them.
Ms. Lehman, your time has expired. Thank you for your comments.
That was
We will now move on to the consent agenda, and for that, I'm going to turn to Commissioner Lori Schreiber.
Thank you, President Hecker. I would like to make a motion to pass the consent agenda items A through H, and I so move.
Second. It has been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The consent agenda passes. We have no unfinished business this evening, so I will again turn to Commissioner Lori Schreiber for our new business.
Thank you. First item on the agenda, BOC 08121423, is a motion to adopt the ordinance 2210 annual budget of the Township of Abington for the fiscal year 2024 tax levy and appropriation, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Manager Manfredi, care to make a few comments?
Thank you, President Hecker. There are only 2 things that need to be addressed as a result of comments from yourself and discussions with 1 or 2 other members related to this proposed budget. They are related to the American Recovery Plan Act expenditures. I've asked Ms. Herman, who is a little under the weather, so hopefully she's able to speak, to talk and make the distinction so that everyone understands the American Recovery Plan Act budget versus our general budget. And then, well, I'll tell you why before she speaks so we have context. There's been discussion about expanding what is in the budget from parks and recreation, capital investment, to culture, recreation, parks, capital investment. And the reason for that is if you should decide as you're appropriating those expenditures to include dollars, for example, toward a library or something else that's characterized under the state DCED's chart of accounts, it's culture, recreation, parks. Originally, it was limited to parks and recreation only. So what we're going to recommend is, in order that you can have that latitude when you make those decisions, to expand the category to culture, recreation, parks. And I know I'm repeating it several times for a reason. Spoke with Solicitor Clark. It is a change that is a classification. It's not a line item appropriation, so it does not seem that the budget would have to be re-advertised, but it would be necessary to allow you that flexibility when it comes down to those line item appropriations. So because that's ARPA and grant fund money, I just want Ms. Herman to explain in a little bit of detail why it's a distinction from the regular capital and operating budget.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Herman.
Good evening, all. So the general fund budget has been brought up as to why are the ARPA funds not included in the general fund budget. As you know, we maintain several funds here at the township as required under generally accepted accounting principles. One of those funds is a grants and contributions fund, which is, as a federal grant, the American Rescue Plan Act funds are required to be kept. These items have specific line items. They are tracked separately from other grants and other contributions, and they are kept in a separate fund from the general fund. They are not considered operating expenses from the day-to-day operations of the township.
That's helpful. Does anyone have questions about that? No? Okay.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone have comments or questions about the agenda item itself? Okay, hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Second item is BOC 09121423, motion to approve the agreement between the Township of Abington and the Abington Township Police Association Incorporated of the Police Department of the Abington Township, a law enforcement agency, to be effective January 1st, 2024, and to continue in full force and effect until December 31st, 2027, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
Next item is BOC 10121423, motion to approve the agreement between the Township of Abington and the Abington Per Diem Employees Union, and I so move.
The matter has been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
BOC 11121423, motion to adopt resolution number 23019, a resolution of the Board of Commissioners of Abington Township approving a memorandum of agreement between Abington Township and school crossing guards for years 2024 and 2025, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded. Any questions or comments from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
BOC 12121423, motion to appoint the next available candidate from the civil service eligibility list to the position of probationary police officer, provided they successfully complete the background, physical, and psychological tests and all entry requirements of the Municipal Police Officers Education and Training Commission for Act 120 training effective March 8th, 2021, and I so move.
The matter has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? The motion carries.
And the last item is consideration of termination of employment of Township Employee 5001, effective immediately, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And that completes the new business for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Schreiber. We will now turn to the Finance Committee and Finance Committee Chair, Commissioner Stuart Weingrad.
Thank you, President Hecker. First item, FC 01121423, motion to approve the October 2023 expenditures in the amount of $5,641,992.26 and salaries and wages in the amount of $2,171,395.62, and authorizing the proper official to sign and approve invoices and supporting documentation and payment of bills and contracts as they mature through the month of January 2024, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. May we have a roll call, please?
Commissioners Brodsky? Yes. Rothman?
Yes.
DePlacido?
Yes.
Vaughn?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Weingrad?
Yes.
Henry?
Yes.
Capone? Carswell?
Yes.
Spiegelman? Bowl?
Yes.
Shriver?
Yes.
Bowman?
Yes.
Vice President Vehy? President Hecker?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Thank you.
The second item is FC 02121423, motion to approve the renewal of the Fidelio dental agreement for the period of April 2024 through March of 2028, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Third item is FC 03121423, motion to authorize the budget transfers and supplemental appropriations for the fiscal year 2023, and I so move.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Last item is FC 04121423, motion to reaffirm Michael McHale as energy broker and enter into an energy supplier agreement for electric and natural gas at the lowest rate submitted by a reputable supplier through a bidding process, and I so move.
It has been moved and seconded. Again, any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
And those are the Finance Committee agendas for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. Since you're in the room, I'm going to ask you to do the Pension Committee as well.
Oh, thanks for asking. One item is item PC 01121423, motion to adopt resolution number 23-020, setting the police pension contribution rate for 2024 at 5% of compensation, and I so move.
The matter has been moved and seconded. Are there any comments or questions from members of the board? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries.
And that concludes the Pension Committee agenda for this evening.
Thank you, Commissioner Weingrad. We will now open it up for matters of general public comment. If you wish to speak, please come forward. You have 3 minutes.
Of these photos ended up on the calendar. I would like to ask for the wall where the receptionist used to be, it's totally blank downstairs, for an opportunity to display my photos, because I can't show them on the computer screen here, you don't allow it, and I have hundreds of them, hundreds of blighted photos. So I would like an answer if that's doable. It's an empty wall.
Sure, here's the answer. No,
Why?
because we don't do that.
You don't want to share information with the public then?
That's not true, but we're not going to put your photos on the wall in the township building
Why? You didn't answer.
because we're not going to do that. It's not
That's
something
not
we
an
do.
answer. I had lots of questions last week that were not answered as well, and I shouldn't have to spend I want the time back.
Well,
My
you're not
3
going to get it,
minutes
so continue.
this week, you are, you know what you are. All right. Let me get back. I want my time back because it's not fair. You spoke during it. I want my time back.
You're wasting your time by continuing to do that. So if you have things to speak to,
No,
please get to
I
it.
have a lot. The stretch of Old York Road located in Abington runs for a little less than 3 miles. In 2022, this area of road had 290 car collisions. In 2022, the Fairway and Valley Road area had 55 car collisions. This is an area that has been designated the family bike path. Commissioners, car collisions are rising rapidly in Abington. It's a safety concern that you never acknowledge here, the amount of rising car collisions. In those two areas, over 300 collisions there were in 2022, and I'm sure there's more this year. It is a certainty that your robust support for biking in this area will jeopardize people. Commissioners, the numerous apartment buildings that you want shoved into area parking lots will have no amenities and not enough parking space for renters. You are endorsing biking to facilitate the needs of developers. The majority of bikers will be school-age children that will live in the coming apartments. School-age children will be the bikers. Kids expect drivers to look out for them. Commissioners, why are you willing to put children and families at risk? Greed should not be controlling your decisions. Real estate developers push biking to increase their bottom line. Are you willing to sacrifice the well-being of children to increase your bottom line? There have been horrendous road rage incidents near the family bike path. In this area, people have been maimed and killed. All of this is never discussed by any commissioner here. Commissioners, you will create an even more oppressive congestion with more collisions to accommodate developers. Your plan guarantees human disaster. Commissioners and Mr. Manfredi, as officials, you need to be held accountable to the fullest extent of the law will allow for inviting cyclists to ride on stretches of street that you know are highly dangerous. You are trusted to make decisions that will be safe for people. Instead, you will be harming many people. To benefit developers, you are risking the lives of people, including children that will be living in those apartments. And there are also many senior citizens that
Ms.
can't
Cabell, your
afford
time
to
has
be even
expired.
hit once. No.
Yeah.
I should be-
And I actually gave you extra time, so
No.
now you need to sit down.
Well, then, I want to show you this.
Ms. Cabell, I'm going to ask you kindly again.
This trash can, Mr. Manfredi,
it is time for-
hasn't been emptied in over a month. The
Ms. Cabell,
garbage is going all
you are out of
over
order,
your grounds.
and you need to sit down.
Do you not want
Or-
people to know this?
I want you to sit down so that we can continue with the meeting.
I have hundreds of valuable photographs, and I deserve a right to display them. Please don't. No, I don't want to talk to Alex. I want to talk to you.
We'll now turn to Zoom.
Laura Lehman, you're unmuted.
It's quite a circus you're running, Commissioner Hecker. This is what happens when residents go completely ignored. It is just tragic to watch how you are managing this township. So you literally outright lied about the questions that I posed and what answers I received. Mr. Manfredi wrote a letter that said that they had spent hours answering my questions, which is completely absurd. I got a handful of answers, most of which took seconds to write. A couple of them might have taken 5 minutes or 10 minutes at the most. And this is really tragic that people can't get the information that they need to actually even be safe in this township. As you know, the people at 100 York are not safe. Their lives are in danger every day, and every one of you on this board has an obligation to make sure that township residents are safe, and you're not doing that. It is lies and untruths and cutting people off and not taking them seriously. The fact that Raymore Flanagan still has a pile of trash 2 years later is the problem in this situation with you and Ms. Kubel. Okay, it's just tragic, Tom Hecker, that you are ruling this way, because this township could be a good township. but we are literally, the Economic Development Corporation has set aside $750,000 when we were promised over and over again that we would not be paying. So we've already paid, I'm sure, close to $1 million. I have a right to know in on that. And now $750,000 with no prospect in sight of what's going to be done. That's outrageous. $11 million for the parks without any priority list. And you all approved it without knowing what the priority list is and what things will be done first and how it will be handled. You don't just approve millions and millions of dollars and then decide later how you're going to spend them. Mr. Manfredi has started since he first came. He started and literally making his projects in the budget that were unseen. We didn't know that there was a township study for a new township building until it became a line item and the budget had never been vetted. And that is not how our township is supposed to run. Projects that are funded are supposed to be vetted properly in public, so the public has a chance to ask questions, understand what the project is, and make intelligent comments.
Ms. Lehman, please conclude your comments.
I will. I don't know how to undo this, except that all of you are leaving these people in these conditions because you refuse to talk to reasonable people who want to have reasonable solutions.
Okay, thank you for your comments. With that, the next meeting of the Board of Commissioners will be January 2nd at 7 p.m. Is that correct? Yeah, that'll be the organization meeting of the board, January 2nd, 7 p.m. Happy New Year to all, and with that, we will adjourn.